Hi, I'm Bill Hanna, Mesabi Daily News Executive Editor. I'm here with Jason Metsa, a representative from House 6B, freshman representative, and about a month and a half into the session now. Jason, how's it going? How does it feel to be a rookie down there, and you finding the bathroom okay in every other conference room?
It's going well. Still get off on the wrong floor for committee meetings every once in a while, and definitely end up walking in circles. It's a big place down there, but it's been really good getting acclimated, been able to hit the ground running, getting kind of settled into the schedule with being on 4 committees. Keeps you pretty busy, lots of testimony. We're very fortunate here, and I was kind of surprised comparative to some other areas in the state at the amount of constituents that I represent coming down to the Capitol advocating on behalf of either different organizations that they work with, or whether it be charitable or for their work. And just having them down there and being active, and people stopping in that you don't even know are down, and day gets filled up real quick and moves by twice as fast as one might think. So it's been fun so far, though.
And I bet you're going to get a lot more visitors, a lot more lobbyists, lots more special interest, and just general citizens in the next few months with the budget. As you guys work through the budget, you got the governor's proposal in front of you now, including proposals to increase the cigarette tax, also to change the tax code in some ways, lowering the rate of percent on sales tax, at the same time increasing and expanding some different areas of tax, including to different services, and also a first ever tax on clothing of $100 or more. If you could speak to those specific proposals in the governor's budget, and also just in general how you feel about what he has proposed, and how do you think it's going to fare in the legislature once a budget deal is finally crafted come May?
Bill, I really think with the governor's proposal, when he was up and you introduced him at the chamber dinner a few weeks ago for the Laurentian Chamber, he hit it right on the head where, it's not perfect by any means in his mind, but he had to get a proposal out there, and he's open, receptive to both input from different community organizations, the legislature, both the House and the Senate side, and if there's things that we think that we can do better, he's fully open to listening to that. And I think that's the kind of relationship we need down St. Paul. In specific to the cigarette tax, I'm not a big fan of sin taxes in general. There's actually talk now too of an alcohol tax, adding a nickel, and so I hope we can avoid raising revenue that way. I think it's a regressive way to do it. But we also need to fix the systemic problem we've had over the years of, robbing from Peter to pay Paul, and we're going to have to do that by raising taxes in some way, shape, or form. And, everyone down there, I have well over 100 people I'm working with, 134 in the legislature, and all their ideas getting incorporated into one bill, and all of us, or at least 68 of us, agreeing on that bill is a huge accomplishment, and realize how much work the people before me down there have been doing. But I think, in regard to our cigarette tax, our clothing tax, I'm not happy with a clothing tax either. I think it's a regressive thing, but I hope that if we move forward with those, that we can find something that works with public input in between for the people that are going to be paying that. And that's our middle class working families around the state. And so far what I've heard is they'd like some adjustment on it. They're open to the idea, at least on the clothing tax side, but they want it to be fair, make sure that if they're getting a winter coat or something, that they can afford to get that. And aside from that, after doing some research with Commissioner Myron Franz from the governor's office for the Department of Revenue, basically I've asked them to put together a chart that would describe your typical average family in Minnesota and how the cut in general, dropping the percentage by, I think it's 1.375%, down to where it's going to be at the 5.5. Does that wash with the increases that you might pay with, if you're a smoker on the cigarettes, or with the clothing that you're purchasing for your family. So I think, looking at that and being able to see, does it wash, or could we keep the sales tax up a little bit in general and not drop it as much as the governor's proposing? I mean, these are all options we can look at and try to make it as fair as possible for the average taxpayer out there.
Thanks, Jason. I want to go back to one thing you brought up because a lot of people might not be aware of it. A new proposal basically to, I believe you said 5 cents on beer alcohol. So if you go get a vodka tonic or you go get a draft beer, it would bump it up at least 5 cents. On the range, that may not sit too well. Your thoughts on that?
I really agree. It might not sit too well, and actually, I'm pretty sure that I'd have an overwhelming group of people tell me don't support that. I've already had folks come down. Our local distributors were down at the Capitol for their events, letting people know what they think are fair changes to their business model, and right now they don't see a tax as a fair change. In fact, Minnesota, if you look comparatively to the states that surround us, has some of the highest taxes on alcohol already, and I think if we set that as a standard where we're already above everyone else, I think we should look for other ways to raise revenue, not on the nickel on alcohol sales. So,
Jason, let's talk a little bit about minimum wage. The president, in his State of the Union speech about a week and a half ago, proposed, I believe, $9 an hour minimum wage, and I could be wrong. Correct me if I am. I think it's now 7.25. In the Senate, and Senator Thomasoni of Chisholm has signed on to it, there is a proposal to increase it to $9.25 above the president's proposal by a quarter. And in the House, there's a proposal to increase it to $10.55. Where do you stand on minimum wage increases?
Well, with the minimum wage, I really think that right now we need to do something. It's been a while since we've had a raise. And what the perfect formula is or perfect number, I don't think anyone will ever agree on that, but we're going to have to settle on something. I'm on 3 different minimum wage bills right now, and that's basically the reason I signed on to all 3. Actually, I signed on to 2, and I authored 1 last week, which I'll get you more information on later. But it deals more with the infrastructure in the back of minimum wage, not so much with the actual dollar amount that we're either going to raise it to. So, but I think overall we have a problem with people being able to afford, just your basic amenities to live and get by. And if you take, our current minimum wage and add up a 40-hour work week on there, and right now in Minnesota, if you work 40 hours a week at minimum wage, you don't get paid overtime until you're working 48. And so that's some of the changes I'm making in my bill to drop it back to 40 hours a week and make sure that people that are making minimum wage are getting compensated the same way as we've, I think, as a nation determined a week to be 40 hours. So making some of those adjustments are going to be important. But overall, we need to raise up people on the bottom and make sure that they're able to pay their bills, get by. I think no one's under the illusion that they're going to get rich working those types of jobs, but they should be able to get by. So I'm committed to working on that. Where the final number ends up being, is something I think that we need to just have an open discussion about, and through the legislative process, I'm sure we'll land on something that everyone can agree with. So.
Jason, let's talk a little bit about a couple of issues that may be very parochial but very important and can have a big impact on people, both from a public safety standpoint and a business standpoint and just a driving standpoint. One is the Highway 53 relocation, which is right now maybe halfway through a 7-year phase. What is happening down in St. Paul on that, and how are you involved?
Right now, what I've done specifically, the project right now will start at midway, roughly, and what we've learned today, which I'm sure we'll be reading about in the paper very shortly, is that the M1 route, which was a direct through route through the Cliffs property, that would have come out by Super One on the south side, has been eliminated as an option. Cliffs has some issues with being able to dig the ore there. They've also given us some new information about the E2 route. Before we thought it might be 15 to 25 years, somewhere in there, where they were going to be exploring in that area, and now it's projected from 30 to 50 in the meeting that I had with them yesterday. And so when we're talking about, infrastructure investments from the Transportation Finance Committee I'm sitting on now, they look at the life of a bridge at, I believe it was 50 years is their projection for having, just basic maintenance and the infrastructure on the bridge, all the, everything but the decking, blah, 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 will need to be replaced obviously in between, but the main infrastructure should last 50 years. So I think looking at it that way, and the huge investment we're making up here into that route change on our thoroughfare through the area, we need to be sure that we're spending the money effectively and not moving it sooner, which, now that Cliffs has come out and met with MnDOT, I think that we're heading in the right direction of getting something finalized. And we've been committed the entire time to making sure that the route doesn't bypass our communities, which has been, something I've heard from a lot of business owners and just residents here who don't want to drive an extra 20 minutes to get somewhere if we went around the communities. So we basically, though, right now put in a bonding bill that would cover the Mesabi Trail and the snowmobile trails and ATV trails to get relocated. We've asked for $1.2 million for that, and we've also asked for $11 million for the city of Virginia to move its utilities on whatever route that gets determined, which it's looking like E2 now will be where we're going to be focusing all of our resources. So, and that's over the Richelieu pit that comes right through Virginia here. So I think we're heading in the right direction. We'll be doing testimony and capital investment soon for the bonding bill, and I think getting that money from the state and having the bonding chair open to hearing our project and making sure it gets considered is really important. Our city couldn't, I don't think, without doing something local, afford to invest the $11 million or so that it'll take, and I think it's actually going to be a little more than that to get the project done. So I really feel like if we can get that started, we're working with MnDOT to make sure that the route that we pick has the best interests of the community as a whole involved, and I'm looking forward to getting down there, securing some money, and making sure that when we break ground, it's good for everybody up here.
Well, Jason, thanks a lot. I think we touched on a lot of ground, a lot of tax issues and minimum wage, and a number of very, very important issues to this area, including Highway 53 relocation. Folks, this is one of a regular videos we will be doing, Jason and myself, during the session. Appreciate the legislator dropping by, and Jason, you want to let people know how they can get in touch with you?
Well, thanks, Bill. And actually, I'm so new down there still. I've got to look at my card to give people the information. So there's a toll-free number that you can reach me at down at the Capitol, and that's 1-888-682-3205. And again, that's 1-888-682-3205. And my email is rep.jason, Jason, Metsa, Metsa, @house.mn. And I know we'll have a nice little ticker at the bottom of the screen going here. So, I'd just encourage everyone, stay in touch. I love hearing from constituents and getting their take, even if we don't agree on all the issues. It's good to hear your perspectives. I've been getting lots of calls so far on a wide variety of issues up here. Everything from dog and cat breeders to gun control to people just needing help with cutting some red tape at some of the agencies they're working with. And so the most rewarding thing I can do is help the people who put me in office. And remember, it's not a Democrat-Republican thing. I'm your state representative, so all you friends on the other side of the aisle, feel free to reach out to me too. There's no partisan politics in finding solutions for you. So appreciate that. I appreciate you doing the interview today. Looking forward to continuing this, and maybe we'll have to try one on Skype sometime from down at the Capitol.
Good idea. Like it.